Good evening
Hello.
or morning.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome back. Welcome.
We're back.
What's the name of this called again?
Ginger-
GingerUnscripted. I almost called it I had like a 3-episode podcast. I don't think I ever had you on, did I?
I know. We
And
talked about it. But
it was called, we'll come back to that later. And I still think that's one of the best names ever.
It is great.
But I almost called this that.
Well, it can be our subtitle.
It's got the same kind of vibe.
Yeah, it does. Welcome back.
Welcome back, everybody. We apologize for the delay. I know some of y'all have been very consistent, at least in my DMs. I don't know about yours,
Yes.
asking for more.
Yes.
And we can't blame you because we're wonderful. And of course, you want to listen to Dorothy all day, don't we all? But we're back and we're here.
Yes.
And we have really exciting things
Fun
to talk about.
questions.
But before we get into that, should we just catch them up? What's been going on in your life? I haven't seen you in a while.
That's fair.
What have you been doing?
I say this to my Twitch community a lot. I've been frolicking a lot. I always
Yes.
call it frolicking.
We love a good frolic.
Yeah, a lot of bouncing around and alternating between being with my cats at home and frolicking around Miami with my man.
We love a good alternating frolic. Like I tell everybody, if you're frolicking and you're not alternating, doing something wrong.
Silly goose. What about you?
Lately I've been doing a whole lot of nothing the last like maybe 2 or so weeks. But I was in Toronto for a little bit.
Ooh.
It's the first time in Canada. It was so great. Have you ever been to Toronto?
No, but I like Canadians.
Yeah, they're the best. It felt like to me a combination between New York and San Francisco, if you've been to those places.
Interesting.
Like it had the energy of like a small city.
Okay.
But it was so multicultural like New York. But even more so, like it was so clear that there were so many different people having like completely different walks of life.
I love that.
Yeah. So it was a good time.
That
but
sounds nice.
then I got sick.
Oh.
Then I got depressed.
Oh.
And so I stayed home. What'd you do for Halloween? You were Batwoman. Catwoman.
Catwoman, yeah.
Yeah, that was a cool.
I was in Miami. Amazon. I got that costume on Amazon.
It
was
looked
so
like it was
good.
made for
I
you,
know.
though, dude.
People literally asked me if I made the
Yeah.
costume.
Did
I
you
was
get
like,
it from
"You're
Zoe
Giving me Zoe?
Kravitz? She played Catwoman. And
Oh,
Kravitz.
no.
And she just got engaged to Channing Tatum.
Yes,
And I'm
I did
devastated.
see that.
Because Zoe
Because
Kravitz
of Zoe.
yeah, she was like way up there.
I wasn't sure if it was
she
because
was
of
tough.
Channing.
He's
I just wanted to
okay.
make sure.
He's not my favorite buff guy. I have more favorite buff guys.
I see. Who's
Yeah.
your favorite buff guy?
Of all time? Well, I have been a Ryan Reynolds fan.
I feel like every man is.
Yes, but can I? So, all right, let me ask you this question.
Okay.
And I'll go and then I want to ask you.
Okay.
But I do feel like everybody in their life has one, maybe two, what I would consider like true hipster credits. And a hipster credit is when you like something before it got popular. But everybody has like one or two like impactful ones. And so I've been, not to be like, I'm not like other girls, but like I am like other girls. I've liked Ryan Reynolds since I was a kid. Like I have the Just Friends DVD. It's like a 2004 film on DVD. I used to watch it all the time. I loved him before Green Lantern. I loved him even during the Green Lantern hate. And obviously I was a part of his 10-year journey trying to get Deadpool made. So I've been a Ryan Reynolds fan for quite some time.
I see.
But you're right. He is like the splooge king of every straight male.
Yes.
But I claim hipster credits on him.
Okay.
And then, do you know the band The Lumineers?
I
Have I told
do.
you this
but
before?
You've mentioned the name. I don't know.
I
if you
just
told me
was
the
a big
story.
fan.
Yeah.
They're like an indie folk band.
Yeah.
And I just stumbled across their album like right before I went to college. So it was like 2011. And I just listened to it that whole summer. So I was very nostalgic, like leaving for, school, that kind of thing. And then I saw them at like a bluegrass festival in San Francisco that year, 2012. And they were like, this is the biggest crowd we've ever played for.
Yeah.
And then they blew up.
Dang.
Yeah.
You knew them before they were cool.
I know. So what are everybody has them. What are your hipster credits?
Oh.
Could be anything. Could even be like a style or like a type of makeup. It's just something that you did and then it got inordinately popular. So popular that you like almost are hesitant to tell people that you like it or that it's, important to you.
Well, I can't think of any good ones off the top of my head.
We can come back to it.
But I like to think, I don't want to give myself too much credit.
Do it.
But
Do it. Give yourself all the credit.
I do feel like going this color red hair
Mm-hmm.
was not as popular when I did it. And I like to think I had a little bit to do with the revolution.
I would say so.
At least for girls of the age of 15 to 22.
You know, you're touching on something, and I'd like to ask you because, like,
Yeah.
we undoubtedly, I'm not going to categorize it big or small or whatever, but and our work has some impact in some way. Like, people see our stuff, you know, and some of our stuff is more, you know, silly, and other stuff is like more meaningful.
Yeah.
And, you know, you never know your impact, and anyone can have this impact. Like, you don't have to be an influencer or whatever. But do you ever think about that? Or, like, I guess my second question or main question is, like, do you feel like influencers or content creators, like, we're pretty quick to downplay any level of our impact?
Yeah.
But I do think it's fair to say, like, you being like your iconic self and like the Garnier kind of stuff, Garnier stuff, like, you know, it is very fair to say like tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of people like followed that, saw that, what have you. And it's very easy to influence people. I get one notification from Panda Express saying their bowls were buy one, get one free last night. And I was like, done. That's dinner right there. So do you ever think about that at all? Or
Yes.
About any of that?
Yeah, I definitely think as content creators too, like in general, I feel like people nowadays are like, you're not the modern day celebrity. So we have a tendency to
Right.
really downplay like the thought of having any influence over people. But I don't think I would think that unless people were literally telling me. So
Totally, yeah.
on like a day-to-day basis, I have at a minimum probably like 10 girls be like, I dyed my hair red because of you.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I think about that a lot too, because I'm like, oh, I'm not really like that popular, but like you have people that come up to you in public and they're like, oh, I know you from XYZ.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, like there's some disconnect going on between like my brain, what society says is like not meaningful of my work.
yeah.
And then like the actual people that are like absorbing it
Yeah.
and stuff.
I mean, realistically, it's like when you think about the fact that like a commercial on television back when things were network, like you're thinking about the influence that has on people.
Yeah.
And that's more reaching the range of thousands, hundreds of thousands, things like that. And now you have like plenty of people, content creators that are reaching millions consistently of people on it. And that is why it's the new influence commercial, like selling and all of that.
And that kind of goes into like the whole strike thing. I guess we haven't really talked. We've done this since we've been on strike.
Yes.
Because I made the joke.
You
Where I
made
was
the
like,
joke.
I'm on strike. Yeah, and that's why it's like so relevant right now. And I feel like that's one of the biggest like misunderstandings from people like not in the community or like entertainment industry is like, yeah, the impact or reach that like the like streaming and just internet type stuff. It's crazy because you used to get paid, you know, off like network television, thinking like 70s, 80s, 90s.
Yeah.
You used to get paid based off how much it was viewed. Like, oh, our new primetime show is making record-breaking viewership, and that's how you got paid, you know? And that's a pretty fair way to break it down. It was like, hey, do you bring in more people? You get paid more. That has gone out the window, which is kind of why we're striking right now, is we're like, hey, like we need to set up some type of standard for this new medium. But just to give people some context, if your primetime show was getting 1 million views, that was record breaking.
Yeah.
Like you were in the top 10 of like shows in the country doing that. And that's not a lot when you think about like people's viewership online, what have you. So
yeah, I think in general, because so many people have started to obtain that, we think of it as more of like everybody gets this kind of level.
Yeah.
But I always remind people, like especially content creators that have smaller numbers that are starting out, like just envision 300 people in a room with you.
And they're all like watching you, and
they're just watching you, waiting and listening
you.
on what you're going to say. And that's 300. And most content creators, if their video gets 300 views, you're like, oh, 300.
Oh, totally.
300 people.
Like I just got 30,000, and like that's low for us. And I was like, oh, what's going on?
That's like a stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's crazy how much our mindset changes around numbers.
Totally.
With how used we all get to
and how
it.
we got to be nice to ourselves. So
Yeah.
if you're listening at home, watching at home, you have impact.
Yes.
Even if you're not a content creator.
Yes.
Like, I think I shared this story on stream. Did we like, I forget what the question was, but I tell you about the story when I used to work at Legoland and like an employee came up to me and they were like, "Hey, you know, I worked with you like 2 years ago." Did I tell you about
I
that?
don't think so.
So this is a story I tell when people are like, whenever we get on the topic of like impactful words. So I used to work at Legoland, California.
So cool.
Which was terrible. Absolutely awful. It hasn't been owned by Lego since like 2000 something.
Oh.
So yeah. This company, I don't know if they still own it, but when I worked there, this company called Merlin Entertainment owned it.
Okay. Call
They're
them
like
out.
a European conglomerate that runs theme parks
Oh.
like across the world.
Okay.
But anyways, it was one of the few places in San Diego County where you could get hired as a minor, and it was also seasonal work. So you could like go away to school, you could come back, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's our busy season, come work."
Yeah.
And so you would often see the same people, you know, throughout the years or whatever.
Yeah.
And one year I was working there, I hadn't been back in a couple of years, and this girl comes up to me, a fellow employee. And she's like, "Oh, hey, good to see you, Zach." And I like remembered her. I recognized her, but I wasn't like, "This is who you are." So I was just like, "Oh, hey, good to see you." And she was like, "Hey, you know, like I just really wanted to like say thank you." And this was like our first day meeting after a couple of years. I was like, "Oh, really?" And she's like, "Yeah." She's like, "You know, like last summer or 2 summers ago when we were working together, like it was my last day and I went and said goodbye to everybody." And she's like, "And you just like came up to me and like gave me a big hug and was just like, 'Hey, like it was really nice meeting you and working with you.'" And she's like, "I just want to tell you like how much it meant to me and like how impactful that was to me in the moment, because like no one else did that, and like, you know, I don't get a lot of that type of energy, whatever." And to me, it was such like a throwaway thing. Like I would have done that with any of my coworkers.
Yeah.
Like if you come up to me and you're like, "Hey, it's my last day," I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, like hey, like so great working with you. Like be happy, be well, be safe."
Yeah.
But it really, that story stuck with me because it was like, oh, like yeah, we don't know the impact our words can have, whether it's positive or negative. So I try to keep that mindful.
Yeah. There's something I hear a lot, which is like, if you know one person, you have impact. That's it.
I like that.
That's all it takes.
We're starting off so positive today.
So
I like it. We haven't seen you guys in so long. It's good to see you. I missed you.
Missed you guys.
Yeah. She thought I was talking to you and I wasn't, but I am now. I was talking to her. Okay, so Dorothy has some fun questions.
I do.
I also have 3 things to go over that
Great.
I got. Can we start with me? I'm excited.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Go crazy. Go ahead.
Okay. Did you see the TikTok about Puka shell and cross necklace? Okay, so let me break it down for you.
Okay.
And I've only talked to one person about this.
Okay.
I was like, every girl I've talked to, it's one person, and you know who. But they all instantly get it. And all the comments were like, okay, so according to this TikTok, there were 2 types of men. Only 2 types.
Okay.
There's Puka shell necklace and cross necklace guy.
Okay. What's Puka shell?
Puka shell is like the little like surfer one with all the white shells. So it's either puka shell or like a cross.
I would like to add one more necklace into the mix.
Yeah.
And that is the oh God, what are they called? The chain link.
Yes.
ones.
Yeah, just chain. But however, we should just pull this up because I'm curious
explain.
because they said that falls under cross necklace. Like a cross necklace guy would wear that.
I would say that could be accurate.
Okay. Well, we'll cut this.
Do you own
we'll
either of these necklaces?
Wants to be cross necklace and cross necklace who wants to be 100%. I have some guys that I'm going to give you and you can tell me what you think they are.
So they're saying there's 4 guys. There's cross, puka, shell, and then cross that wants to be puka and puka that wants to be cross.
I'll let you know if I agree.
Fascinating.
Okay, PETA from the Hunger Games.
I think he's Puka Shell wants to be cross necklace.
Really? I was going to say just Puka Shell. What part of him do you think is wanting to be cross?
So is this making sense to you at all?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I
so
get it.
you got it? Okay.
Yeah.
So I would just be curious your thoughts on it, and then I think we could give each other a couple of people and then see if we see this comment. I had no context, but as a girl, I understood always. So that's my first question. Do you understand, and do you feel like it's a ubiquitous girl understanding thing? And then 2, do you believe it's foolproof, foolproof as they say?
I would say that is pretty clear. Because I was thinking, because the cross necklaces, the one that they showed particularly too is like one of the gemmed ones. And that does kind of like fall into the category of like the
chain guy.
Yeah.
So for any viewers at home, especially if they're not like, they didn't see the TikTok, like maybe we'll splice it up. Probably not, but that's a lot of work. The alternate title of this podcast is How Little Work Can Zach and Dorothy Do? Our commitment is to get you content because you guys all want content, but we both have other stuff going on. I also have severe ADHD, so like I can't be sitting down and re-listening to myself talk for 2 hours. That's just bad for me. But can we verbally explain you from a girl perspective what it is so that they can understand?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like when you just envision like the shell necklace, just envision like the man that you envision with the shell necklace. You know what I mean?
So
And
there's only
then-
2 types of men?
Well,
Or
I
there's the
could
4
see
that people are
how
pretending to
they
be?
fall into
Okay.
the 2 different categories.
It's pretty
We're-
easy to classify men.
Yeah, I
when you
mean,
think about it.
well, but when you think about
Well,
But it's interesting to think about the crossover one that they were mentioning, like
Yeah.
the shell that wants to
Wants to
be
be,
the
yeah.
cross and the
Yeah.
cross that wants to be the shell. That is a little bit more complex, but I do
Yeah.
feel like generally speaking, most under the umbrella fall under the
under
one
those
or the
2,
other. Yeah.
or trying to be one or the other when they're not.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that. That was the first thing I wanted to bring up.
Yeah.
So let's give each other a couple of guys and then
Okay.
see if we put on it. Okay, Harry Styles.
Definitely a shell.
He's a Puka shell?
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you think?
Yeah. Okay, so let me ask you this then. Like,
Okay.
what's the difference between a Puka shell guy and a cross
It's
necklace
the
guy?
vibe.
Okay.
I don't know how to explain it. I think it's just the vibe.
So I'm trying to let me try to see if I can like explain this for anyone who doesn't understand, or maybe some of like the guy viewers or people that don't have a lot of experience, maybe just dating men, because I feel like that's where this knowledge comes from,
Or just being around them.
or just being around
yeah.
them. But I do feel like it's a little bit of like it's like a lens, I feel like, for women to interpret men. Like I never once in my life have I tried to boil down men by the type of necklace they could potentially wear. So a Puka shell guy kind of feels like more of like a golden retriever, sporty, maybe the himbos fall in there, the Kens of the world, the surfers, the wholesome, and then the cross is like kind of more the bad boy. Do you know the Kevin Nugan archetype?
No.
Okay, just think like a sleeve, arm sleeve tats, black T-shirt, wearing chains. But it feels like there's more types of guys than just wholesome.
Like, give me
and
an
like
example.
someone that would fall into. Okay, where
Yeah.
would you put somebody like Dylan O'Brien?
I would say he's a shell that wants to be a cross.
Okay, see, I kind of agree with. Yeah, that's what I kind of agree with. Okay, what about William Putner?
Who's that?
He's the British buff guy that has eyebrows.
That's
I'm saying his name
the
wrong.
best description. That has eyebrows? Oh. I don't know much about his personality.
Okay, then we'll do the guy from The Bear,
Oh.
Jeremy Allen White.
It's like I would say he's a cross.
Yeah, it's probably just a cross.
Yeah.
You almost want to say cross trying to be Puka.
You almost want to say it's like a mix, but
He's a cross.
it's a cross.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was my first thing.
Great. That was fabulous. And I learned something new today.
I forgot that you're not chronically online anymore.
No, not as much as I used to be.
Maybe I'll prep you next time and we'll like watch.
No,
Do you ever
that's
listen
great.
to like the H3 podcast?
No.
Are you familiar with Ethan Klein, H3?
No.
Just like an OG YouTuber kind of person,
Okay.
whatever. But they have a podcast and they have like a full staff, right? They got like 5 or 6 people or whatever. But Ethan is like, he's like an elder millennial. Like he's got a kid now. He's maybe like mid to late 30s. And so they'll usually like have people that like make almost like PowerPoint presentations and like take them through whatever's going on in like the zeitgeist of pop culture, and then they talk about it.
That's fun.
I'm like, oh, maybe we should do that.
Love it.
Maybe you guys can submit. We'll drop our email in the description of this YouTube video.
Yes.
And if there's anything you want us to review, feel free to make a PowerPoint or just like hot topic things, and we'll get to it.
Pop culture. Okay, I have a question for you. Was there another name that you were supposed to have?
I think I was almost a Taylor or a Tyler, and but my dad really wanted me to be Zachary.
Okay.
So my dad was kind of underhanded about this
Okay.
because I think he wound up naming I have a brother and a sister. He wound up naming all of them. Like my mom did. She was just like delegated.
Mom was just like, I don't give a fuck.
think, well, because he named Jason, my older brother. And then he really wanted to name me Zachary. But I guess back in like 1993, Zachary was like not a popular name.
Okay.
And the only Zachary that was around was this like fictitious character on television that was like this like crazy professor type guy. Like he was a Looney Tune kind of guy. And so my mom was like, I'm not naming him Zachary.
He's going to be a loon.
He's going to be a loon. And so my dad, being the mischievous man he is, he went to my brother, who's like 2 at the time, 2.5. And he was like, hey, your brother's name is Zachary. Like, go talk to him. And so my 2-year-old brother went up to my pregnant mother's belly and was like trying to say like, come play with me. But the thing is, he could not pronounce his Z's yet because he was 2.
Okay.
So he was just going like, Zachary.
Oh, that's cute.
Zachary, come out and play with me, Zachary. And so my mom was like, well, fuck, like I'm not going to tell my 2-year-old that like the name is not correct.
Wow, your dad's very sneaky.
He's a sneaky guy. Were you supposed to be something else?
Yeah, I was gonna be Mary. So
Similar vibes to Dorothy, I feel like.
it is, but it isn't. I just feel like Mary just has such like
biblical,
just like such wholesome vibes.
I mean,
about
so
it.
does Dorothy, the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, I guess Dorothy you
But it's got
envision
more
more
syllables?
like.
I think there are more strippers named Dorothy than Mary in the world. Wouldn't you say? Like Candace and Dorothy are kind of go hand in hand.
Just like a Wizard of Oz themed strip club.
I'm sure that exists, or
Well,
like they gotta have
probably.
like a Wizard of Oz night.
Well, let me fix this focus.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah. So Mary was also
So you're supposed to be
another.
Mary, okay.
Yeah, it was another family name as well on my dad's side, but on my mom's side, she really wanted me to be named after my great aunt Dorothy. So that was ultimately.
Do you feel like a Dorothy?
Yeah.
You feel like
Yeah,
fits you?
it's interesting because growing up, my parents always gave me nicknames, assuming that I would hate Dorothy. And they were like, you can go by DJ, do whatever. And I was like, no, my name is Dorothy. Like, I would always correct them.
Does your middle name start with a J?
Yeah, Dorothy Jean.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Jean is also another family name.
Got it. That's a strong name. Let's DJ. That's why I kept Biscuit, my cat. His name is Biscuit. They named him that from the shelter because there was already another cat that looked like him that was named Biscuit, so it became Biscuit Jr. And I was like, well, I can always call him BJ. I don't call him BJ, but I like that the option is there. I like that it is available to me.
So yeah. All right, we'll do like a 3-for-1 because you've. How's that sound?
I had a beefy boy.
What?
A 3-for-1. Or I thought you were talking about asking a question.
Yeah.
You're gonna ask me 3 questions.
In turn for your one.
That's what I meant, because I had a beefy boy question.
Very good. I thought you were referring to Biscuit. I was thinking Biscuit's not that beefy.
No, if anything, I was worried that he was underweight.
We'll get into that another episode. What is a food combo that you do not support?
Pineapple on your pizza.
Oh,
That's like pretty
we're gonna
standard.
go there. Okay.
I'm sorry if you're listening at home and you think that's good. You're just empirically incorrect. Pineapple does not belong on pizza. Was not even made in Hawaii. Okay, it's a Canadian thing. So kind of weird of them to just take Hawaii's good name and put it on the worst type of pizza in the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
You feel very strongly about that.
I just think pizza should be savory. I'm Italian, so I love sauce and cheese and bread.
Yeah.
Why would I fuck it up by putting fruit in it?
You know?
Do you?
Like pineapple on pizza?
Yeah. Or just
I always say
anything.
like I'm kind of like indifferent about it. Like
Yeah,
it's,
I'm not gonna
I won't
get mad
I won't
about it
reach
unless I'm on
for it, but
podcast.
if it's like the only option,
Yeah.
I'm not like I refuse.
Are there food combos that you think are wrong?
I don't feel as passionately about it, but dipping fries in a milkshake.
Oh, yeah.
I just like would rather them separate. I'm not saying I
Yeah.
don't enjoy
I mean,
consuming them at the same time.
Yeah.
But like the dip,
You wouldn't be
I
a dipper.
feel like destroys
That
the.
I feel like is fair.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like people that do that are like, it's the pineapple on pizza community is like, They're so adamant that they're right. You know, nobody dips their fries in milkshake and goes, fuck you if you don't like this. But pineapple on pizza people are like, you're fucking wrong. And I'm like, clearly I'm not. I'm not crazy about anchovies. And so I prefer to have Caesar salad without anchovy in it. But I understand that that's not classic. And I'm not going to like try to take like the moral high ground on that.
How do you feel about sardines?
I'm not crazy about any type of like
Little canned fish.
I don't even like fish in general, which is like sacrilegious to people.
No, I understand. I'm not big on fish myself either. And I was talking to my man last night, and sardines are like really big in what he grew up with.
Yeah.
And he likes sardines in an omelet.
Bro.
And I've never heard that before in my life.
They're
and
good for you though.
oh yeah, I mean I've only like anchovies. I feel like are pretty big in the at least in my side of Italian.
Yeah, they're pretty similar. Sardines and anchovies.
Are they?
Yeah, they're both like
I
small
don't
little
think I've ever
canned
had.
fish, right?
Yeah.
I think they taste different for sure.
Yeah, I think if I was maybe more into fish,
Yeah.
but
Like I've seen some TikToks of like people in Asia cooking, and like they'll just take like a whole can of like I think sardines and then just like fry it up in a circle and just like eat it over rice. Well, I think a lot of people do
interesting. I remember I did this play in high school, and I had a Cockney character, so I had a like rich Cockney accent.
Yeah.
And 90% of like the things she would say in the play would be about sardines. She'd be like, sardines, sardines. I don't even. It's been a long time since I've done it, but
Can we hear more of the Cockney plays?
no, I don't remember how to do it well. But
Hey, governor,
shit, literally, I think
sardines,
my opening, because I was the opener of the play, my opening line was like, sardines.
And this is in Florida or Jersey?
No, the North Carolina.
Oh,
no,
that's right.
No.
The NC.
No. This was here. This was in my college
Oh, okay.
play when I was in the company for the college. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had some bad accents. You know,
I mean, it was good for the play. It's just
Yeah.
not now.
Yeah, and just like Cockney in general, like nobody really talks like that anymore. So I get it. Like I did like an 1800s like Irish play, and like we don't actually know what people sound like from that period, or maybe it was like not 1800, maybe it was way before that, maybe 1500, 1400. We don't know what people sounded like, so we just went with like the thickest Irish accents.
Yeah.
But it was bad because not everybody in the cast was like full sending on the accent.
It was
Like,
a
and
half in.
Yeah, I get it. Like if you're insecure and stuff, but it's like there's nothing worse than like an accent where you're like, are they trying right now? It's like they still sound American.
Oh, God.
But I feel like a lot of actors, especially like collegiate actors, like they think that they're doing better because they're not like taking a risk. But I'm like, I think the audience would
Full
prefer
send.
for you to just full send,
Yeah.
even if it's not perfect.
Yeah.
And so I was full sending.
Yeah.
I was showing up just like pretending to be a leprechaun, coming right out of backstage and saying had to do, you know, and that's not what Irish people sound like. And I remember one time when I was done with school, I was working at a British company, and we had an Irish woman, and we like a bunch of us went out like drinking or whatever. And so she finally got me to do it. And so I started doing my accent for her, and it was even thicker than it is now because I feel like I can't quite do it how I used to do it. And she just looked at me and started laughing. She's like, "You sound like a fucking leprechaun." I was like, "Well, that was kind of the point, you know."
I mean, honestly, so I grew up, one of my neighbors in Florida was an Irish woman with a rich Irish accent. And honestly, like what you're doing literally that's what she sounded like.
I've chatted with many Irish people, and I've learned to tone it down. So like if I wanted to sound like an Irish person that lived in Dublin today, I'd sound kind of more like this, like less thick. But when I really get into it, they're like, "You sound like the old man at the end of the bar who's just will not stop drinking, and he really sounds like that." And I'm like, "But he exists." And they're like, "Oh yeah, a lot of them sound like that." And I'm like, "That's all that matters. I sound real. I just don't look the part yet."
Right. So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Have you, as an actor, gotten any like auditions for an accent you've never done before, and it was like you had to learn it within a short time frame?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what I have found, especially here in Hollywood, is most of the time you are performing as like a different culture. Nobody in the room or the production is actually from there.
Yeah.
So I've done a lot of German work. No Germans on set. The first ever like big thing I booked out here, I booked like a Volkswagen commercial. And my only lines were ketchup, mustard. But I was a German person, so I had to say it with a German accent, which, you know, it just sounds like ketchup, mustard. like pretty similar.
Very nice.
But I was doing it so many times in the audition room that I messed up one time and said mustard instead of mustard. I forget what the word. I think the German word for mustard is just mustard.
Okay.
But the director who's British loved it, and that's how I actually got booked. And so when I showed up on the day, I was saying like ketchup, mustard. He's like, no, say it how you used to it. And I was like, oh, mustard. And I was with another guy who spoke German. He was way better at German than me. And we kind of looked at each other, and I was like, yeah, that wasn't actually correct. He's like, and then he like just said something weird to me, and I was like, all right, I'll do it that way. And so I spent the whole night saying it like that. It was the weirdest commercial. Like, commercials are weird because you're only filming like a 3-second thing, but they spend hours on it. And so at one point he had me saying ketchup, mustard, at lightning speed. And like I was pressing different buttons in the car. That's why I'm going like that. I was changing the color. Like the Volkswagen interior lights. That was the selling point. You could change it to any color. So I was changing it from red to yellow. And I literally, this is a reenactment. I was going, ketchup, mustard, ketchup, mustard, ketchup, mustard, ketchup, mustard. And I was going so fast. And of course, they didn't use any of that. They sent it off to the Germans. Yeah. They were like, this does not sound right. So they had to send it back to me, and I had to like ADR it and come in direct.
Man.
So I was like, joke's on them. I made like an extra couple $100.
Hey.
But yeah, I've had a few like that.
Lately, especially like for voiceover work,
Yeah.
I get a bunch of I've gotten Russian and British and like no matter how many times I tell my agent I'm not Hispanic, I still get like fluent Spanish.
Yeah.
And Spanish Mexican accent rolls constantly. The fluent Spanish ones, I'm just like, decline, can't do that. Yeah. But I try to just do my best with these accents as much as I can. But
yeah, a while ago I had like a new Seth Rogen film or something like that, or show, and I knew it was going to be bad because they said we want something that's just vaguely Scandinavian. And first of all, Scandinavia is not a place. It refers to several different countries, all that sound different from each other. And they didn't say, looking for someone with an accent from a Scandinavian area. They're like, we want a Scandinavian accent. And so whenever they ask for something that general, like they're just looking for a stereotype. Yeah. And there are only a few free stereotypes that you can still get away with, like in this day and age. Yeah. And I feel like it used to always be Russians. Like Russians were our bad guys forever. You can't do that anymore. Obviously, it used to be like insert any enemy of the United States, but really the only safe ones are like Nazis and just like really white Europeans. Yeah. So Scandinavian's still like safe. So I just went with Norway. I was like, that counts. And so it's a lot of sounding really like this. It's really bad. But, thankfully I have a little bit of a following, so I have people in Norway. And nice. I just had them. Yeah, whenever I have accent work, I just reach out on my Instagram. I'm like, hey, are you from this place? Yeah. Contact me. And then I just have them send me my lines. And then I just I combine like 6 different people into it.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's so clever.
But out here, you say yes, and then you figure it out later. Yeah. That's kind of how it works. 100%. It's like, hey, can you ride a horse? Yeah. Never done it a day in my life.
I've gotten a couple of those recently. Yeah. Must be
a lot of horse stuff going around.
Very, very comfortable around horses and horse riding. I'm like,
no, and you
gone once when I was 10.
It kind of sucks because you spend all this time like doing that. Like I had like a basketball one not that long ago, but they were looking for like college level athletes. Yeah. And I reached out to my agent. I was like, hey, like I'm not a college level athlete. Like I've played a lot of basketball. Don't get me wrong, but like I'm almost 30. I just went to the doctor. I'm like 195. Like I'm not in my prime. You know what I mean? I'm in my whatever's after the prime, post prime era. And she's like, oh no. She's like, no. I let them know they liked your look. So could you put in a tape? Yeah. And it's like they wanted all these fancy basketball stuff. Oh yeah. And I was putting it all together, and it's like, of course, it's like 24-hour rush turnaround. Yeah. My water was off that day in my apartment, so I went to like a nearby park, then had to go to the gym to shower. Oh man! And I was putting it together, and it's just this like 30-year-old man doing his best playing basketball, and it's like I'm at a park in West Hollywood, 10 a.m. on a Tuesday, so the back is just littered with old dudes playing dominoes.
Love it.
And I'm just like, nobody's gonna hire me based off of this.
You know, but then you don't know because they might.
You never know.
You know,
Yeah.
my agent has submitted me for things. It'll be like pro baseball player, pro golf player, and every time, you know, you email them and they're just like, just give it your best shot.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
It's
I've
'cause
never
they-
played golf before. in my
Because they
life.
don't actually want. It's like
They just want the look.
Yeah, and maybe you agree with this. Like Hollywood right now, and for the past couple of years, they have been, especially since the pandemic, they've been obsessed with the word real. Yeah, see, you
Real
already know.
friends.
real couple, real friends, real transgender, real paraplegic, real basketball player, real NASCAR, and it's like, bro, stop reaching out to actors and saying you want real whatever. Like we have spent, you know, years of our lives, tens of thousands of dollars training in order to be like, yeah, I have a good foundation of pretending to be something else.
Yeah.
And it's like, bro.
Yeah.
But
Just so they can throw that little disclaimer on a commercial that's like real people,
Yep.
not actors.
They're just-
real actors
They're just obsessed
that
with
do
it.
those things.
yeah, it even permeates into like the acting style. Like acting right now is like the current genre, like popular genre is just like hyper realistic, like so grounded. Like don't even move your face. Like A24, like your dad is dead. Like that's all they want.
Yeah.
And so it's permeated commercials, it's permeated
Yeah.
everything, and then it's just kind of like
Yeah.
ugh.
But quite an acting tangent we went off on there. But
I just was
you know,
at, I'm just going to talk
Tell
about
me,
this.
tell
And like,
me.
if it happens, it happens. But
Tell
like,
me.
you know, not that many people watch this. So I feel comfortable that this isn't going to get back to insert big studio name. But I had a friend reach out to me and they're like, hey, do you want to, come do this like internal thing for this big network studio? So essentially they're making a game show.
Okay.
It's based off a very popular board game, and they are like pitching it inside their studio. So they were hiring some actors to come be part of their demo. Essentially, just pretend that you're on the game show, help them workshop it, whatever. My friend reached out. They're like, "Hey, I can't make it. Can you make it?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure. That sounds like fun. I like board games." I get there. I don't have a really good time. It's got that same vibe as like an audition room where it's like me and two friends, and then there's another group of three, and we're like competing against them, and we're sitting outside with like the casting guy, and it's like, you know how these auditions are, but it's like, for the people that don't know, there's a weird energy in the casting room. It's like a weird pseudo competitive one. You have a couple people that are like too cool for school. You have a couple people that look exactly like you. You're listening to the people ahead of you. Like, it's just an
It's
uncomfortable
weird.
experience.
It's a weird vibe.
Usually, like, not always, but sometimes casting is like almost like encouraging that weird kind of energy amongst you guys. So it had that energy, and I'm like, this is not an audition. This is not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm getting paid for my time. Like, I don't have anything to prove. And so it just had a little weird energy. The guy was like, kind of, are you familiar with the term negging?
No.
Negging, Negging. It is like, it was popularized in the 2000s by like those scummy pickup artists.
Okay.
It essentially means a backhanded compliment. So you could say something like, wow, like, that's a really great dress. Like, I wouldn't think it would work for you.
No,
you
yeah.
know? Or like, like, that's a great hairstyle. Like, it's really bold of you to like try to do that. Like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Say he was singling me out and like doing that to me.
Oh, terrible.
So anyways, we go in, we have a good time, whatever. It's all fake, right? So we're not actually playing for money. We give feedback. Obviously, they love me and my friends because we're fantastic. They tell us, though, they're like, do not say you're actors. That's pretty common.
Yeah.
They're like, don't say you're actors, like whatever.
Nobody ever wants you to say you're
right.
an actor.
But it's
for
like,
anything.
why are you hiring me?
Yeah.
And so we have to say the other thing we do, whatever.
Yeah.
They're in the room and they're really drinking their own Kool-Aid. They're like, we're really hoping this gets picked up. This could be the next Wheel of Fortune, which is like a 30-year show.
Oh.
And they're like, so please manifest this for us. It's our dream. And so once we leave, of course they email us and they're like, hey, could you come back next week during their actual pitch for the high-level executives? This was just
Okay.
like a workshop. They've been prepping for
Okay.
weeks. And so I talk with my friends. I'm like, oh, how are you guys feeling? I'm like, I felt a little weird. They're like, yeah, I did too. And we're like, it just felt weird that they were like giving us this whole spiel about following your dreams and manifesting for them, but like we can't be upfront about like our dreams and like what we're going for. It also felt weird that they were really hitting us over the head about like, high energy. They're like, we just need high energy. And like, obviously we were entertaining and like there was a lot of improv because we're like actors. So it just felt weird that they were like capitalizing off entertaining, hiring us because we're entertainers, but they're like lying because they're trying to sell this to their executives that this could be done with real people. and they were really big on the real people.
Yeah.
And it was like a deal or no deal thing. So they'd have like 20 real people up there that would split the prize if you lost or whatever. And so we decided to email back and just like politely ask them like, hey, you know, like what time are you thinking? You know, just so you know, like we're all like union actors. So like we have other stuff going on. We have class, we have this and that. And like that's usually a busy day for us, you know. And then it was like, out of curiosity, would you mind if we asked like why we can't mention that we're actors, whatever? He just totally ignored everything. Thought I was just saying I was unavailable, even though it was a reply all. Asked if they could replace me with the original friend that was gonna do it, which was one of the things he like was nagging me about. He's like, I really wanted your friend, but like we're glad that you're a backup. And I'm like, what the fuck? And so that was my long story for the whole real thing. This just happened. I had a really weird experience, and it's like I made like $150, which sounds good, but then it takes you like 4 hours for all of that, and to like kind of be belittled. I'm like, oh, it wasn't really worth it. And they never got back to us.
Of course.
That. You know,
of course.
Just say yes. Have you had any weird like just experiences, or it's just kind of like, oh gosh.
Yeah, I think the most weird experiences tend to be like the lowest paying gigs, because literally like if the money runs like the level of respect and how precious people's time is for the production. So I find like especially when I was doing student stuff. Oh my God. Like they have no level of like consideration at all for not only just like your health, but your time. Like you'll go like 14 hours and they just you have no water, no food. They're just running you, wasting time.
20 degrees outside.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, you know, other than, because I think sometimes it's fun to support like good projects of your friends that are doing stuff.
Yeah.
But after enough experiences of like just my time being completely wasted for nothing, I'm like, I can't do it anymore,
100%,
man.
100%. I actually got some students in trouble. I'd only been here a couple of months. Everybody tells you the same thing, like when you're first starting out, like, oh, go do some student projects. Like a couple of them are like, you know, really good, and they go to festivals and do it. And what they don't tell you is you should really only be doing them at the top schools when they're funded. You know, like the thesis films at like ANDA or Loyal. What's it called? Loyal, whatever. Marymount. You know, the Film Academy, all those kind of stuff. Like those are good opportunities to do because those are serious students that have money behind it, and they're going to continue to be in the industry. But just random short films for people. I did one. It was 4-day shoots for a short film, for like a 4-minute short film. For some reason, the sunrise was written into the film. So my call time was like 4:30 a.m. for each day. God. The first day, they didn't even use me until like 2 p.m.
Oh, that is such a common thing among low-paying projects.
They'll just like call you and then never use you. And this was my first ever student film, only one I ever did. And on the way out, like the professor was walking out, and I was like, "Hey, like, are you looking? I know these are students. Like, are you looking for like feedback? Because this is a class." He's like, "Oh yeah, definitely." And so I just laid out. I was like, "Hey, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but like da 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 da." And then he looked at me and he's like, "Wait a second." He's like, "Do you have an agent?" And I was like, "Yes." He's like, "Why are you doing this?" And I was like, I was told that it was a thesis film. He's like, "It's not." And I was like, "I see that now." And then he went back and like wrung them out. And like, I'm told he like yelled at them for like 10, 15 minutes. So the next day I came, everybody's energy was different. They were like, "Oh my God, Mr. Cowan, thank you so much for joining us again." I think they thought I wasn't going to come back. It was a terrible experience.
Damn.
Yeah.
Gotta watch out for those.
Okay, my next question.
Yeah.
We're doing great. We're on a real big tangent.
Yeah.
We're at 44 minutes. By the way.
I know.
Okay. So this is PDF, JPEG, MP3. You're familiar with all those. Gayest to straight.
PDF, JPEG,
MP3.
MP3.
Yeah.
Gayest to straight.
Yeah.
PDF feels super straight.
It so does.
So
it feels like a boomer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
JPEG feels bi.
It does, 100%.
and MP3 is very fruity.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. As someone that makes MP3 audio smut, yeah. Oh, by the way, guys,
Hey.
this is my new branded Quinn microphone.
cute.
Shout out Quinn. You know, they reached out to me because I did like a little unboxing video the other day, and their thing had come in the mail as part of the unboxing, and then they reached out and they were like, hey, you know, we're planning on doing like a social media post. Would you mind if we included your thing?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, no problem. But then I went back and watched it since I like opened a couple different things. It's only like 20 seconds. And it's literally me pretending to like eat the microphone saying I do smut. And I was like, do you guys want me to refilm something? Like, I was like,
Definitely they want to use that.
yeah.
Did they use it?
They haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
This is a new interaction.
I love it.
So
You
you guys
just going to eat it.
Yeah, if you see it later, like hopefully you guys can gas me up a little bit.
That's great. Do you have any funny prom stories? Or did you have a very normal, or did you even go to prom?
I went to prom. I went to
Okay.
prom twice.
Okay.
I went to junior prom with a senior.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. Pretty
Okay.
cool. And then I went to my senior prom with my girlfriend at the time.
Okay.
I don't know, funny stories. I remember I was like hooking up, very prom experience, you know, hooking up. Went into Walmart to buy like condoms and mints.
Oh.
And my date and I thought it'd be funny if we went together and we were in like full prom regalia. And I thought the cashier would say something. I was like, when else are you going to see like two beautiful teenagers buying condoms and mints? Like, and we clearly were from prom, right?
Yeah.
Like tuxedo and dress and whatever. And they just avoided eye
Yeah.
contact. And
I would too as that cashier.
Yeah. Like looking back now, I would, because I'd be like, I don't want to encourage child sex. I mean, we could have been 18, but we were like 17.
Yeah.
But I just, at the time, I was like, this is going to be comedy gold.
Yeah.
And I remember we were like hooking up later, like in my car, and my friend or like one of the guys that was there, I still hate him for doing this. He like came out and started like rocking the car, and like the alarm went off. And then fucking, because I live in like a conservative religious area, we were staying at my buddy's place, and he's like lived in the nicer neighborhood. So like the church police came and like knocked, and they were like, and we had finished up at that point, and they knocked, and so we were just trying to sleep, and they were like, hey, you can't be doing that out here. And I was like, sleeping? He's like, oh, you got to go back to where you came. So we had to like walk of shame out of the car and like knock on my friend's door at like 2 a.m.
You're still in your prom attire.
Yeah, or we may have changed at that point, but like, yeah, it definitely had that vibe.
That's great.
Did you go to prom?
Yeah, I also went junior and senior year twice.
Okay.
And my junior year, there was a boy I had a crush on in my class.
Oh.
And he...
J name?
I don't even remember right now.
Just I felt J name energy.
That's, well, you'll...
Okay, all right. Hold please.
And he like whatever gave me like a Build-A-Bear and asked me to go to prom. And I said
nice.
yes, and I was like so excited. Yeah, okay. A week before prom, he texted me and was like, "I broke my ankle. I can't go to prom anymore."
Weird. Do you think he was lying?
And I was like, "Oh no, that's so sad. Like I was so excited to go with you." Okay, I go to prom. Guess who's at prom with another D?
Bro did not think this through.
He was there on crutches though, so he just did go, but he just didn't go with me. So I guess he really did break it, but he ultimately ended up.
Do you think it's possible that he really didn't want to go, and this like woman made him and was like, "You're fucking go on crutches"? No, there's no.
I don't know. But he could have said something to me.
He could have just been upfront.
Yeah.
Like the freaking teenagers.
Yeah.
I was thinking about my promposal not that long ago because I saw TikTok, and it was like the best promposal, and I felt like mine was ahead of the time because I did one of those like ones where like you include your date, the person that you're asking, in the proposal, but they think it's for someone else. And so I planned this whole thing. I got a bunch of my friends together. I was like, all right, meet in like the school parking lot, like right after school. And I told the girl I was seeing, I asked if she could help out my friend's promposal. And she's like, yeah. And so I had a bunch of like cardboard signs. Like everybody had a different thing. It was like, will you go to prom with me? Whatever. and then I gave her the yes one, and then somebody else was no. So it'd be like yes or no, and I gave her the yes one, and then I was like hiding. And then my friend came out. He organized. He's like, okay, let's just practice. She's going to be here soon, whatever. It was like, okay, we're going to go in order. So I was like, will you go to prom? And she could see the whole thing. And then she flipped her yes one. And then I had the no person step away. And then I came out with like a sign that had her name on it. And like this was like 2012, 2011. And I saw TikTok the other day. It was like someone doing my exact idea. I don't know how they got it. But they somehow, circa San Diego 2012. Was that your only prom?
No, so I also had a very weird experience. So because I had such a negative experience for that one, my second prom, my senior year, I was like, I'm not going with any date. I'm just going to go with my friends.
Girls trip.
I had a bunch of because I was friends with like a giant group of guys in high school.
Ooh,
so
you were not like other girls?
Don't pin that on me.
No, it was them, not you. You would have loved to have many girl besties.
I just had
jealous.
one girl bestie and then a bunch of guy friends. And my cat is just all up in the business.
He has got such a adult cat face now.
Yeah, I know. He's
He's
got
a
such a
panther.
man face. I
Yeah,
know.
he does. But the rest of his body's so small.
I know. Oh man. So I decided to go with like a bunch of all of my friends all together, and the DJ of the prom was my ex-boyfriend. Which I actually broke it off with him, and so the whole night I was like, I'm gonna have fun and rub it in his face.
Dang. How old was the DJ?
Yeah, well, I was dating a little older for my age, and I'm proud of it.
It's not your fault.
Yeah.
I think we can blame the adults in this situation.
I would like to. I would.
You were legally a child.
I was.
So yep. I don't think you have any responsibility there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any other funny stories from school growing up? I have one I can share if you need to think.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So when I was in first grade.
Okay. Wow.
I don't have a lot of memories from my young childhood. Okay.
Maybe
so
when I
do,
a clue as to why.
We had a talent show in class, okay? And I was a dancer when I was younger. I was always like in dance class.
Moving and grooving.
And so I choreographed like a whole dance to Breakaway by Kelly Clarkson.
Great song.
And I performed that for the talent show, right? And then so it was tied between 3 people for the top 3, and then we all had to like I guess do it again.
Yeah, tiebreaker round.
And the top 3 was me, my best friend at the time, a boy best friend, and my crush in the class, whatever. And he was and I won, of course.
Sure.
Anyways, and my best friend never spoke to me again after that. He was so mad that he lost to me. I think he was singing for it. He was so mad that he lost to me. He literally never talked to me again after that.
Wow. Do you have any experiences like that with like a really close friend, or even like maybe not a relationship, but someone you were dating, and then just something kind of happens, and then you just literally that's the last time you ever speak? Like there's a TikTok trend that I've been seeing where it's like you and your situationship after having like the most intimate night of your life, and it's that song where it's like, okay, goodbye, never see you again.
I don't know. I
just
I
this
don't
story.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. The question was embarrassing school stories.
No, just like any funny, anything that's like memorably funny.
One time in 8th grade, I was going to the restroom in the middle of class, and a bird pooped on my head.
Wait, in school?
Because I was outside
walking inside,
walking to a restroom, because my school was like it was just like a series of buildings. It wasn't like one big building.
Yeah, and
so. Yeah, I was just outside. A bird pooped on my head. So obviously I went into the bathroom and like washed out my whole head. And I had really short hair, so it was fine. And then I went back to the classroom and the teacher was like, "Why's your hair wet?" And I was like, "Oh, a bird pooped on me. And then for the next couple classes, I would walk into the classroom to everybody laughing. And maybe this only happened once.
Oh, no.
And somebody had like drew a cartoon of like a bird pooping at me.
What, stuck it on your back?
Like put it up in the front of the class, like as I'm walking
That's
in.
such a like a movie school thing to
Yeah,
happen.
everybody's like laughing at me, and I'm just like, oh gosh, okay. Trying to think. I once secretly gave my friend like a nickname after a party that he hated, and nobody knew it was me that gave it to him.
Yeah.
So this is like the only high school party I went to.
Okay.
So I only went to like one high school party, and then my parents found out, and I was grounded for like 6 months, 8 months.
Yeah.
They took my phone, and this was like 2011.
Yeah.
So then after that, I was not invited to any parties anymore because I had like missed
Yeah, the
like,
wave
the window
of being a party person.
Yeah, and then you're like a
Yeah.
senior and like you know.
Yeah.
But this was like a wild party, like you know. And
Yeah.
my friend got he was like obliterated drunk. He actually like popped. You ever see where they like pop a blood vessel in their eye?
Oh.
Well, kids, one of the, I guess, side effects of like binge drinking is you sometimes can like pop a blood vessel.
Oh.
And it just goes away on its own. But he was like so drunk he popped a blood vessel, and he actually like pooped in someone's shoe, like outside. Like couldn't tell you, just teenagers getting drunk. He pooped in someone's shoe. And so I nicknamed him Two in the Shoe.
That's honestly
And
so
it
good.
stuck. And he hated it. And people would call him that and refer to it and be like, "Oh, isn't that the night that guy tooed in the shoe?" And we were good buddies, and I never told him. I think I've told him. I'm pretty sure I've mentioned it since then.
Dang.
But I felt so bad because he really didn't like it, and I was like, "Bro, I really like." was like the antithesis for this friend, but
Dang.
yeah. Okay, I've got one last thing.
Yes.
So how do you feel about, they have this new thing. I don't know if this is exactly what it's called, but I wrote down Tinder Select. And so Tinder, I don't know if they've launched it yet, but there was discussion that they were going to release a new subscription tier. Because I believe the way that Tinder works is like there's free Tinder that anyone can get, and then there's different levels of subscription, and then the different levels of subscription give you different things, like unlimited swipes, see everyone that swiped you, priority, all that kind of stuff. They're releasing a new one called Tinder Select, which will allow you to message anyone on the app, regardless of if they match with you or not.
Interesting.
And I was curious your thoughts on that.
I mean, I feel like the whole point is kind of that you're interacting with people that also want to interact
Yes,
with you.
yeah.
So I'm just envisioning like all of the hot girls that are going to be getting like a flood of messages from just random dudes everywhere
That's
just wanna
essentially
message
that's
them.
every dating app's business model.
And it's like the most undesirable ones are paying the most for those things.
100%. 100%, because it's like girls, for the most part, don't really pay for dating apps.
No.
And I don't know if I've talked about this on stream. That's my biggest thing with dating apps. Like,
Yeah.
I remember years ago when I was like doing dating apps more often, and like I'm an attractive guy, and so I would get maybe like one match a week, which sounds like not a lot. Like if you're a girl on these apps, you get one match a minute. Like it's crazy. But like those are high numbers in the male world, or in the male seeking women world. But I remember one time, just for kicks, I was like, oh, let me buy one of these like $5 boosts that they're always throwing at me. I kid you not, I got like 60 matches in that 30-minute period.
Holy.
So it is clear to me after that, and I did like a bunch of research, I went down a huge rabbit hole, that they are essentially creating an algorithm, making it harder and harder
For the people that
for
don't pay.
men, free users, to make things. Because it's like a dating app is kind of like the SAT, where if you don't know the SAT, it's like a big test you take in the US to try to get into college. And the way the point structure works on the test is if you answer a question incorrectly, you lose like a point. If you do not answer at all, nothing happens. If you guess correctly, you gain a point. So one of the strategies for this test is like, hey, if you're not sure, just don't answer. Same thing with dating apps. When you swipe right on someone and they do not swipe right on you, you lose a point in the algorithm. because they're trying to quantify your attractiveness to try to match you with other people. But then they will not show your photo if you're a free user, if you're a guy free user, to the people that you're seeing their photos. So they're essentially just setting you up for failure.
Interesting.
And so I recommend, and I've recommended this to guy friends, if you are interested in like online dating, just pay for it. Just buy whatever the lowest level of subscription is. Just give them a little bit of money. It's going to make your experience way better. You're actually going to match with people. And then just use it to meet some people, have some conversations.
Crazy.
And then when you meet someone you like, get off them.
For their sake, the men out there, what dating app do you feel like in the past you've had the most positive experience on as a man?
It depends on your goals. And things have changed. Things have changed. And it also depends on your city. But I will say for Los Angeles or just like a major city, if you are looking to maybe like have a relationship or you like are not just interested in like fucking around, I would push you on either Bumble or Hinge. If you are looking to just like, you just want to hook up, you're not really looking for meaningful reactions, and you're also not going to take things personally, then I'd put you on Tinder. But if you're the kind of person that's like, why are they not messaging me? Or like you're looking to date, like you're genuinely your intention is to date, stay off Tinder. You're not going to have a good time.
Yeah.
Maybe you can back this up. I feel like a lot of people, not just women, but primarily women, like dating apps for the most part are just kind of for fun, for a laugh. It could be an activity. I don't know how many guys out there genuinely are using dating apps for like entertainment. I think they're using it for like intended purposes.
Yeah.
So stay off of Tinder unless you are okay with potentially being part of one of those TikToks that people just go on these apps just to like create a compilation of funny things. But, I think it's better to meet people IRL if you can. I've been trying to do that more.
Yeah. Well, I feel like we're at a good point to give our what we've been doing like a
little positive
thing.
Well, I feel like we got it at the beginning, but
we did. But why not?
Do a
Do you
little
have a nugget of wisdom you would like to share with the audience?
I feel like I said this earlier, but like just be cognizant of your impact.
Yeah.
On others. Try to lead with kindness and impact. Like you never know what kind of day someone's having.
Yeah.
And think about some of the worst days you've ever had. How much would things changed if just a stranger walked up to you?
Yeah.
And was just like, I really love your hair today.
So true.
Or just like, hey, like your coffee's on me. Like I'm just doing this new thing.
So
true. And I think it's so awesome. Also scary. Like just how little of energy and effort it can take from you to mean so much to somebody.
Yes.
So that would be mine.
That's great.
What about you?
I just made a TikTok talking a little bit about this, but I feel like my focus lately has been a lot on recognizing what within myself still needs to be healed from my past experiences and how that still comes up in my life. So I would just say to all of you, to encourage you, although it may be scary and vulnerable, to keep looking inward and keep trying to be as self-aware as possible, because we risk sabotaging great things in our life when we let the painful things in our past kind of come up internally within us, and we get triggered or have habits and things from that. So I would say I've been working on that a lot myself, trying to self-reflect a lot and see what within me needs to heal. And I encourage you all to do the same. It will bring so much blessing and goodness into your life, and you can open yourself up to a lot better things.
I love that. I've been working on that specifically with resentment.
Oh yeah.
Like I've been holding on to too much resentment.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, it colors the way that we look at the world.
Yes.
And I'm like, well, if I'm just expecting things to be negative, they're going to be negative.
Yep.
If I'm expecting people to be shitty to me, they're going to be shitty to me.
Yep. Well, there is your nuggets of wisdom for the week.
Well, thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks for jumping in. As always, feel free to drop comments below if there's anything you want us to discuss or read. And we'll see you next time. We're really going to shoot for 2 a month. But we are busy people with other things going on, so we appreciate all of the patience.
Thank you for your patience.
But that is our goal.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to be able to do it this month.
Yeah.
I think November. Will that be our first ever month?
That would be great, wouldn't it? Also, we encourage you all to show us love across the board. We are on everything.
Yeah.
TikTok,
Ginger
YouTube,
Unscripted.
Ginger Unscripted, Apple, Spotify,
Yeah.
you name it. Leave us reviews, leave us comments, subscribe, follow, the whole name.
Yeah. We're trying to get to 1,000 followers on TikTok so that we could maybe live stream this process for you guys and take real-time questions.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot, everybody.
Right.
We'll catch
See you
next
on the
time.
next one. Yeah.
Okay. Easy peasy.